Okay, Sheetal. Hi. How are you? I think we're
I'm good.
live.
How are you?
I'm good. Happy midway through the summer, Sheetal. I think I'm actually a little bit halfway through the summer. At least here in Canada, we've got about a month left of good weather.
Guys have a summer?
So yeah, we only get like 2 months of like
Summer.
summer. And then it starts snowing again. But welcome everybody to another edition of IBA Friday. I'm Rob, and as always, I'm joined by Sheetal. Sheetal, you missed our last one, but welcome back.
Yes, happy to be back.
That's good. Glad to be happy to have you back. So Sheetal, today I wanted to talk. We're going to go in a different direction today.
Mhm.
I want to talk about analysts. And one of the reasons we're going to talk about analysts is that obviously they do a lot of reporting on what's going on in the market, in the industry. And here at 1Kosmos, over the years, we've been mentioned many times by analysts. Each year, it seems like we get a couple more than the last. And this year we've already got 11. If you go to our website, we have a listing of all of the mentions that we've had since the website kind of started. I'm pretty sure we've got 58 reports there that if you click on them and you have a membership to either Coppinger Cole or Forrester or Gartner, which are kind of the three biggies, you can go view those reports. But today I want to talk about a couple of standouts that have happened over the last 2.5 months or so. Because it looks like to me there's a consistent kind of theme shaping up here. And I'm going to start with I'm going to go through a couple of them, Sheetal, and I want to kind of get your kind of input towards the end here. So first one that I want to just quickly talk about is a leadership compass from Coppinger Cole. For those of you that are not familiar with what a leadership compass is, it's a series of reports that Coppinger Cole analysts put out. It evaluates, and ranks vendors in various different sectors or segments in cybersecurity and identity management and stuff like that. And they provide insights into the strengths and weaknesses of different vendors, right? So you can go through and kind of look and figure out, well, which one kind of best fits my organization. So the one I just wanted to quickly highlight was the passwordless authentication for consumers. And this report is about securing passwordless authentication technologies that enable customer interactions, right? They provide a good customer experience because obviously, customers are increasing demand for seamless and secure authentication experiences, right? In that report, we were placed as an overall leader, a product leader, and an innovation leader. Innovation leader is a cool one because in almost every one of their reports that we are featured in, innovation is a leadership point that we always come out with. And that's really a testament back to you and the team, right? That we're always innovating this platform. But before we jump into that and your innovation and all the good things that you guys are doing, according to the report, our authentication solutions are tailored for enterprise use cases and those designed for customer use cases, and where they desire different kind of varied, responses, right? So the report states that our unique strengths include identity proofing, onboarding capabilities, strong and well-documented set of APIs, innovative features such as private blockchain, risk adaptive authentication, and then privacy is kind of woven in there as well. So, when you look at our platform, I'm gonna jump into a couple here. I'm just going to get your thoughts quickly on this one. We've always been talking about the blockchain, the privacy, risk adaptive authentication. Our last couple of IBA Fridays have all kind of touched on those topics. This kind of speaks to the strength of our privacy by design platform, right? What is it that you guys what's kind of your view on those types of findings in a report like this, Sheetal?
So I think specifically in context of this report, which is titled like passwordless authentication for consumers, it's great, right? It's fantastic for the end customer whose privacy we truly want to preserve, right? Something that was very interesting that was mentioned for anyone who's shopping around for passwordless authentication for consumers is that the way the enterprise thinks about passwordless is quickly catching up with consumers as well. And they're distinctly different, right? So as an end consumer, you're expecting far better user experience. You're expecting to go across every device when you're trying to log into your Amazons and Best Buys and things like that. Right. So they're expecting even better for a consumer kind of space. And the fact that we are able to support or step into a paper like this truly means that we are ready for anyone who is ready to bring passwordless authentication to the consumer, right? And then the great benefit of 1Kosmos being in this is truly giving privacy back to the user, right? In addition to everything else, which is having great user experience, being able to recover your account pretty easily, and for a large level, right? We want it to be very easy for somebody to implement passwordless tech in the consumer environment, which means you need to have a great framework of APIs that somebody is able to easily integrate and then have your users on board. So that's really why we're probably here in this report, right? As a
Sure.
as well as
Sure.
an.
Yep. I mean, looking at our platform as well, I mean, the platform is, basically the same regardless if you deploy it for an enterprise or consumer. But that security, the grade of security that we deliver, is the same regardless of how you deploy that, right? And who you deploy it for. So you get a very robust framework regardless of where you're deploying it to really meet the needs of either those customers or enterprise workers regardless. So let's move on to, there's 3 reports I just want to kind of quickly cover from Gartner. The first one is a market guide. And just quickly, for those that are not familiar with the Gartner market guides, it's a research document that defines specific markets and provides insights into the current status or status, depending upon how you say that, and future direction. It offers an analysis of the market dynamics, including vendor strategies and all that kind of stuff. So we were mentioned in the market guide for decentralized identity. And that decentralized identity guide, it talked about the security and risk management that leaders have been responsible for in terms of identity data that is both centralized and federated up until now. And then looking at what that transition into through the democratization of identity data through decentralization, right? Meaning that you no longer have an ability to monetize to some degree some of that data. We were mentioned in the business to consumer use case, but it's that decentralization again. We talked about it in the Coppinger-Cole report. They mentioned it. I'm going to talk about 2 hype cycles here as well. So just quickly, what's a hype cycle? It's a graphical representation. So for those of you, it kind of looks like there's a it goes up and then it comes down and then it kind of balances out. But anyway, it was developed by Gartner to illustrate the maturity, adoption, and social application of specific technologies. So it's used to assess the potential and maturity of emerging technologies. It's kind of a guide to that kind of decision making, right? Should I be an early adopter, or is it kind of at a point where it's nice and steady? So first one I want to talk about is the hype cycle for digital identity. So over the past 20 years, there's been a substantial increase in the use of digital identities, right? So across organizations, digital identities extend beyond, the physical presence. It's becoming widely distributed across multiple organizations and systems. So among other things within that hype cycle, it did talk about a lot. It discussed identity verification, verifiable claims, identity wallets, decentralization, biometrics, and verified credentials. All things that if you watch all of our IBA Fridays, we've talked about. Another one is the hype cycle for digital government services. So in this hype cycle, it focused on technologies and practices that are impacting how governments deliver services and value to organizational objectives. Again, there's a lot covered in this document. One of those things being digital identity wallets, right? And this is where we were spoken about. And there's been others. There's another hype cycle for privacy as well, where they start talking about privacy. I'm not going to get into that one, but we were mentioning that one as well. But when you look at these things that analysts are talking about. So they're talking a lot about verified credentials, decentralization, wallets, privacy, user experience. These are all core tenets of our platform. Now, we've been talking about this for a long time, Sheetal. You and I have been talking about them on IBA Fridays for over a year now. We've been talking about it here at 1Kosmos since its inception about 8 years ago. Why are they now just bubbling up? Because it seems like, they're becoming more commonplace, coming from in terms of what analysts are reporting on. Why is it now starting to take shape?
So a lot of it has to do with what the market is telling us, right? It clearly feels like, in the last few years, there's been a lot of fear and uncertainty and doubt about decentralized identity. What is it? People didn't really understand it. But I think they've sort of understood the downsides of having a centralized identity platform, right? It's so easy to breach. There is a whole cost implication to having that honeypot of identities. Now that they've begun to realize that, hey, this is probably one of the weakest links here, I think the market feels ready to explore decentralized identity. And I think the entire framework of decentralized identity is sitting as a behind the scenes, right? So the end user doesn't really see any impact, but you as a security person are able to reap the benefits of a decentralized identity framework because it is built. It's designed to preserve the privacy of the user. It's designed for secure data sharing, right? Making sure that we've taken consent of the user before we're sharing any data. And I think the entire verifiable credentials framework itself is built on that bedrock, right? How do you share data securely from one place to the next? And this kind of framework sort of drastically reduces the need for any kind of intermediary to step in and facilitate any kind of data exchange, right? So these are some of the pointers for why we feel the market is turning. A lot of these analysts are beginning to highlight the benefits of some of these platforms that have wallets in them, that are promoting the user first, right? So you as a user are only a single entity, right? So your identity also should typically across all these varied systems also should be one. So I think that's kind of the drift of the market, and we've seen these recurring themes occur through all of these papers. Right? This is exactly what we got highlighted for on all of these analyst papers. So things are really looking up in terms of trends in the cybersecurity space.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of these things also rely on one another, right? So when you look at something like verified credentials for, I'm going to speak quite broadly here, but for a true verified credential, that has to sit on a decentralized network, right?
Yes.
And then that verified credential is going to get stored in a wallet. And then that decentralization and the verified credential and the wallet is going to come with user managed privacy, right? And then on top of that, that's then going to deliver a pretty great user experience because now when somebody goes to authenticate, they've got a verified identity, right? We can bind that to the user. And then in doing so, provide a pretty seamless experience into any application, service, online, whatever that might be. So yeah, you're right, Sheetal. I think that, the vision that you and the team, and, even Heyman, and others, when they put this company together was to have, 1Kosmos is really our vision here is to have, one identity that everybody can use wherever they go. And it's exciting to see from an analyst perspective that they're picking up on a lot of the things that we saw early on, in terms of where the market really has to go, right? Like we can no longer be dealing with people online and we don't know their identity because we're doing business all over the place, right? People are working from home way more than they did, even 8 years ago. So all of these things are becoming kind of a necessity to a modern infrastructure, with any level of assurance for the identity, like on the other side of that digital connection, right? So, it's exciting to watch you and the team develop this stuff, and analysts are obviously starting to take note in terms of what some of these technologies are and the benefits that that come along with them. Any parting thoughts on any of that, Sheetal? Thank you.
I mean, I
You
think
are
just
excited
looking
about
at these, all of these papers, it's exciting to see all these technologies, really come to life, come mainstream. It's also exciting to see that, it's in all categories, right? There in the enterprise, it's there in the consumer and in government, which
government.
probably need the most. We need privacy most probably as a citizen, right? So it's exciting to see these trends emerge in all of these sectors. So looking forward to some great adoption through 2024 and 2025 and solving some of our fundamental problems.
And I look forward to more IBA Fridays where you're going to show us some of the cool stuff that you guys got developing back in the office. So, Sheetal, thanks again. This one ran a little bit longer than maybe I thought we were going to, but great conversation as always. And we'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks. Thanks everybody for coming by, and we'll talk to you again soon.